Here's some good news. By just taking a selfie with your smartphone, you can help build the egalitarian revolutionary movement. Here's why that can be done. What you have to do is take a picture of yourself holding this sign in front of you with the correct zip code at the bottom, and you'll be helping to build the egalitarian revolutionary movement. Now let me explain why that is so. I'm asking people on the street, random passers-by, people I meet as I walk to the corner grocery store and so forth, if they would let me take their picture holding this sign. And the way I approach them is I show them this. And most people, believe it or not, who, stop to read the sign, say sure. And I've been taking their photos holding the sign. And I've been posting them on my Instagram and also in Flickr online. Now you might say, well, what's the purpose of this? Well, it's twofold. I'm aiming to collect thousands of pictures like this of people holding a sign saying, "We the people want affordable housing for all. To get it, we aim to remove the rich from power, to have real, not fake democracy, with no rich and no poor." And when I get thousands of pictures of people holding that sign, which is not going to be that hard, takes a little time, but I get a bunch every day easily, I'm going to put an ad in the local big newspaper, the Boston Globe, or maybe the Metro, another big newspaper here that's read by a lot of people, or maybe both. And the ad will have that message: we the people want affordable housing for all, and to get it we aim to remove the rich from power, to have real, not fake democracy with no rich and no poor. And the ad will show how you can go online to Flickr and see all the thousands of pictures of people holding that sign, saying what they believe. Now, I said there was a twofold purpose. The one purpose is, with the ad in the newspaper, to let lots and lots of people in the general public learn about the fact that they're not alone in feeling this way, in wanting to remove the rich from power and so forth, being really angry at the lack of affordable housing. And the second goal is to let the rich and powerful, who will also hear about the ad, know that their refusal to create affordable housing for all is causing people to build a movement explicitly aiming at removing them from power. That's a lot different from what the rich and powerful think is the response of the people that they're treating like dirt today. Because today, the rich and powerful, they're not afraid of the people rising up against them, because they know that the politicians, the mayor and people like that, control the people. They have city-sponsored hearings when new developers try to get a zoning variance to build more luxury housing somewhere. And yeah, they let people blow off steam at these city-sponsored hearings, public hearings, and then that's the end of it. The people go home. The politicians run on some platform saying that they're for more affordable housing being built, but that's the end of it. There's no movement actually starting to grow that is explicitly aiming to remove the rich from power, to have real, not fake democracy with no rich and no poor. There's no movement that's even starting to grow that even acknowledges the truth that we live in a fake democracy, essentially a dictatorship of the rich, and that things aren't going to get the way they ought to be with, for example, affordable housing for all, until we remove the rich from power, until we make that our explicit aim and start building a movement to do it. But when the rich and powerful see that people are starting to explicitly aim for removing the rich from power, when people are starting to say out loud that, yeah, we have a fake democracy and that's the problem, we want a real democracy, then the rich and powerful are going to have something to be afraid of if they continue treating people like dirt by, for example, not building affordable housing for all. And this is going to put the maximum pressure on the rich and powerful to start building more affordable housing. Can't predict what the rich will do exactly, but you know, the reason we have Social Security, the right to form a union, unemployment compensation, there's only one reason we have those things now, and that's because in the 30s, the working class was rising up in a movement that the ruling class was frightened to death of. The newspapers were declaring the massive general strikes in regions around the country as insurrections against capitalism, as revolutions, civil war. They were scared. And that's the only reason the upper class agreed with FDR when he said, you know, we got to implement something like a New Deal or else we're going to be overthrown. So very reluctantly, you know, the upper class certainly didn't want to do it, but they realized that the alternative to implementing the New Deal was to risk revolution. That's why we have Social Security, unemployment compensation, the right to form a union. We wouldn't have those things otherwise. It's only by frightening the rulers with a movement that is explicitly aiming to remove them from power that we frighten them into giving us anything. Otherwise, they're just going to keep treating us like dirt, refusing to create affordable housing, and people are going to end up living in tent cities the way homeless people are living in these tent cities of thousands of tents. These are people with jobs too, jobs that don't pay enough to rent a home. And you know, this is what the rich have in mind. There'll be luxury housing for the very rich and wealthy, and the rest of us, we're supposed to live in tent city or in the servants' quarters, I suppose. We got to do something. And the tactic that I've hit upon of asking people to pose for a photograph and asking you, dear viewers of this video, to take a selfie and email it to me as the directions for how to do all this and how to get these things online so you can print your own. They're in the article that I'm linking to at the bottom of this video. The thing about this tactic of asking people to pose for a photograph is that a lot of people will do it. Some people or even hold the sign in front of their face because they're afraid of having their face appear in the video. That's okay. It shows that there's a person, even if you can't see their face, who agrees with the sign. So this tactic is something that lots of people will agree to do. Even people who feel so hopeless that they won't do something more at this particular time in history. I wish that, that I could call for a demonstration for people to show up in the thousands in front of City Hall or in front of some big real estate developer, you know, saying that, we're not going to put up with it and we aim to remove them from power and so forth with a big demonstration. That would be great, but the time is not one in which people have the confidence and the hopefulness to go to such a demonstration. Not a demonstration that's talking about removing the rich from power. People mostly think that that's impossible. Now, it's true that for reforms that people think might be possible, sometimes a lot of people will go to a demonstration. There was a big demonstration in Boston recently against the horrible mistreatment of people at the border applying for asylum, putting kids in cages and so forth. And yeah, a lot of people demonstrated militantly. They stopped traffic, I read in the Globe. And that's because people, at least a good number of people think that, well, maybe a demonstration could do some good in stopping, something that's just totally outrageous. But a demand that falls far short of removing the rich from power. But to build a movement in which people are militant around the goal of removing the rich from power is something that requires laying the groundwork for maybe a long time before that, a groundwork that gives people the knowledge and confidence that they're not alone in wanting to remove the rich from power, and that they're not alone in wanting to do something for that goal, even if the thing that people do is initially just pose for a photograph. That's something. That's doing something. And you can think of it as a baby step towards creating the conditions where people have the confidence in themselves as being part of the vast majority, not a tiny, hopelessly weak minority, to start doing more militant, more ambitious things that lead to being able to actually remove the rich from power, despite the rich having the 82nd Airborne Division, which is possible for the reason that I discuss in the article that I'm going to link below. But to get to that point, the point where the article is talking about how we can remove the rich from power even though they have the 82nd Airborne Division. To get to that point, we need to build the confidence in people. We need people to know that they're part of the vast majority, and they're part of a vast majority, many of whom are willing to do something to achieve that goal. And that confidence and knowledge is lacking at the present time. The mass media is controlled by the rich, and it censors even the expression of the desire to remove the rich from power. And the progressive organizations are virtually all controlled by people who squelch any hint of the members wanting to remove the rich from power, which I discovered from my local reform organization, the Brighton Olson Community Coalition. The leaders absolutely prohibit any of the members even hinting that they'd like the organization to declare that it's for removing the rich from power. So the tactic that I've come up with of asking people to pose for a photograph and to ultimately have thousands of photographs and then an advertisement in the newspaper letting the public know about it and telling them how they can see all those photographs, and letting the rich and powerful see that their refusal to stop treating people like dirt is leading to an egalitarian revolutionary movement being created to remove them from power. This tactic, I think, is a good one. I've discovered that most of the people I ask to pose gladly do so. Gladly. Very few people, look at the sign and say, oh, I disagree with that. I've got 15 photographs on now on Flickr, and to get those 15 photographs, only 2 individuals that I asked said no because they disagreed with the picture. I mean, with the sign. So, 15 people and only 2 disagreeing with it. This means it's going to be easy to get thousands of photographs. It's just going to take a little time. And I hope that you will join the effort and take selfies and photographs of your friends and neighbors in your zip code, wherever it is. And, as my article points out, email them to me and they'll join the other photographs. Okay, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and thank you very much for watching.